The Pandavas, the victorious heroes of the Kurukshetra war, had ruled Hastinapur for 36 long years. Yudhishthira, the eldest, sat upon the throne. He was known for his unwavering righteousness. Yet the Pandavas felt the pull of something beyond the material world. The horrors of the war had left an indelible mark on their souls. They sought liberation, moksha, from the endless cycle of birth and death. Thus began their final journey. They relinquished their kingdom, their wealth, and their worldly possessions. The Pandavas, accompanied by their loyal wife, Draupadi, embarked on a pilgrimage to Mount Sumeru. They sought to reach heaven, not through death, but through a life of virtue and detachment. Their path was arduous, a reflection of life's challenges. Each step tested their resolve, their commitment to their spiritual quest. The Pandavas knew that this was no ordinary journey. This was a pilgrimage to shed their mortal coils and attain a state of eternal bliss. They walked, their bare feet touching the cold earth, a constant reminder of their own mortality. With each sunrise, they drew closer to their destination, and with each sunset, they shed a little more of their earthly burdens. The air grew thinner as the Pandavas ascended Mount Sumeru. The once lush greenery gave way to stark snow-covered peaks. The journey became a metaphor for their spiritual ascent. Each step was a struggle against their human frailties, their desires, and their attachments. With every challenge they overcame, they inched closer to the divine. Draupadi, the fiery and strong-willed wife of the Pandavas, stumbled first. She faltered, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The harsh conditions proved too much for her mortal body. Yudhishthira, ever the righteous one, turned back to his beloved wife. He felt a pang of sorrow, yet he understood. Draupadi, despite her strength, had been bound by her love and her desires. One by one, the Pandava brothers stumbled and fell. Each fall revealed a hidden flaw, a weakness they had carried within them. Sahadeva, the wise and knowledgeable one, fell prey to his pride. Nakula, known for his beauty, couldn't let go of his vanity. Arjuna, the mighty warrior, clung to his past glories. Bhima, the strongest of them all, was defeated by his insatiable hunger. Draupadi, the embodiment of beauty and grace, lay still upon the snowy ground. Her breaths came shallow and far between. Yudhishthira, his heart heavy with sorrow, knelt beside her. "My love," he whispered, "what is the cause of your fall?" Draupadi, her voice weak, replied, "My heart yearned for your love, for the love of my sons. I was attached to the life we built, the joys and sorrows we shared." Her eyes, once filled with fire, grew dim. Attachment, she breathed, has been my undoing. Yudhishthira understood. Draupadi, despite her strength and resilience, had always been bound by her affections. Her love for her husbands, her fierce protectiveness of her sons, had tethered her to the material world. He gently closed her eyes, his own heart aching with the realization that even the strongest of bonds could become shackles on the path to liberation. Sahadeva, the youngest of the Pandavas, stumbled next. His fall came as a surprise to Yudhishthira, for Sahadeva was known for his wisdom and humility. He approached his brother, confusion etched on his face. "Brother," he asked, "you, who possess such vast knowledge, how could you falter on this path?" Sahadeva, his voice strained, replied, "My knowledge, brother, became my cage. I believed myself to be wiser than others, forgetting that true wisdom lies in recognizing the limitations of one's own intellect." He coughed, a rattling sound that echoed through the mountains. "Pride in my knowledge blinded me to the true nature of this journey." Yudhishthira nodded sadly. Sahadeva, despite his intellect, had allowed his pride to cloud his judgment. He had forgotten that true wisdom lay not in accumulating knowledge, but in understanding its limitations. He had mistaken knowledge for enlightenment, and in doing so, had strayed from the true path. Section 5. Nakula's Fall, Vanity's Grasp. Nakula, the twin brother of Sahadeva, known throughout the land for his unparalleled beauty, was the next to succumb. Yudhishthira, his heart growing heavier with each loss, approached his fallen brother. "Nakula," he questioned, his voice laced with sorrow, what caused you to falter? Nakula, his voice weak, whispered, My looks, brother, they were my downfall. I took pride in my appearance, reveling in the admiration of others. I forgot that true beauty lies within, in the purity of one's heart. Yudhishthira realized the truth in Nakula's words. Vanity, the obsession with one's outward appearance, had blinded Nakula to the beauty that resided within. He had sought validation in the eyes of others, forgetting that true worth comes from within. His attachment to his physical form had become a chain, binding him to the material world and preventing his spiritual ascent. Section 6. Arjuna's Fall, Warrior's Ego. Arjuna, the valiant warrior, the hero of countless battles, stumbled and fell. He lay upon the snowy ground, his powerful body seemingly diminished. Yudhishthira rushed to his side, his heart heavy with grief. Arjuna, he cried, you, the mightiest of warriors, how could you fall? Arjuna, his voice raspy and weak, replied, My pride, brother, my ego as a warrior led to my downfall. I clung to my past glories, my victories on the battlefield. I forgot that true strength lies in conquering one's inner demons, not in vanquishing external foes. Yudhishthira understood. Arjuna, despite his prowess as a warrior, had been consumed by his own ego. He had defined himself by his victories, his triumphs over others. He had forgotten that the greatest battle is fought within, against one's own weaknesses and desires. His attachment to his warrior identity had become a barrier, preventing him from attaining true liberation. Section 7. Bhima's Fall, Gluttony and Desire. Bhima, the strongest of the Pandavas, known for his immense strength and love for food, was the next to fall. He lay upon the ground, his massive chest heaving. Yudhishthira, his heart heavy with sorrow, rushed to his side. Bhima, he questioned, his voice filled with concern, what has caused your fall? Bhima, his voice weak and raspy, replied, My hunger, brother. It has always been my weakness. I could never control my desire for food, my need for gratification. This insatiable desire has been my undoing. Yudhishthira nodded sadly. Bhima, despite his immense strength, had always been ruled by his stomach. His desire for food, for physical pleasure, had blinded him to the importance of self-control. He had allowed his desires to dictate his actions, forgetting that true strength lies in mastering one's own senses. Section 8. Yudhishthira's Steadfastness, Dharma as the Guide. Yudhishthira, now alone save for a stray dog that had joined them at the start of the journey, continued his arduous ascent. He had witnessed the fall of his beloved wife and brothers, each succumbing to a different weakness. Yet his resolve did not waver. He understood that their falls were not punishments, but consequences of their own unaddressed flaws. He knew that the path to liberation was fraught with challenges, designed to test the very core of one's being. He clung to his Dharma, his righteous conduct, as his guiding light. He had always strived to live a life of virtue, of truthfulness, compassion, and self-control. His Dharma, he believed, was his shield against temptation, his path to spiritual liberation. Step by grueling step, he continued his ascent. The air grew thinner, the cold more biting. Yet he pressed on, his resolve unwavering, his heart set on reaching the peak. Section 9. The Final Test, Transcendence and Liberation. Yudhishthira finally reached the peak of Mount Sumeru, the dog still by his side. Before him stood the gates of heaven, shimmering and magnificent. Indra, the king of gods, appeared before him, his face creased with a gentle smile. Yudhishthira, boomed Indra, you have passed the ultimate test. Your steadfast adherence to Dharma has earned you a place in heaven. He gestured towards the gate. Enter, righteous king, and partake in eternal bliss. But Yudhishthira hesitated. He looked down at the dog, its eyes full of loyalty and devotion. This creature, he stated, has been my faithful companion throughout this arduous journey. I will not enter heaven without him. Indra smiled. Yudhishthira, you have demonstrated the truest form of compassion. This is no ordinary dog, but Dharma himself who has chosen to test you. The dog transformed, revealing the radiant form of Dharma. Yudhishthira, his heart filled with humility, entered heaven. He had learned that true liberation comes not from rejecting one's loved ones, but from embracing compassion and righteousness. The Pandavas' final journey was not just a physical ascent, but a powerful allegory for the journey of the soul. It highlights the importance of recognizing and overcoming our flaws, clinging to Dharma as our guide, and embracing compassion as the ultimate virtue on the path to liberation.